Hello and welcome back to my lockdown layout. You should be able to see in a moment one of my recent purchases, which is the Hornby Centenary Edition Smokey Joe loco. As you can see, it's finished in a really nice gloss finish with separately fitted metal detailing, which I believe Smokey Joe has not had since it very first came out. I have to say, this is a really lovely little model, and although not completely prototypical, for the money it is a very, very nice item. So if there are any still out there, R3622 I think, then by all means get hold of one. I know I struggled, I hadn't pre-ordered and it wasn't that easy to find any retailers with one still in stock, but maybe if you have a really good look online you might still find one. The running characteristics are really lovely, nice and smooth, which I say just as it stalls over the points. There we go. But lovely, lovely running, and to be honest, for a little layout like this, it's absolutely perfect. Since the last update video, when I talked actually just about containers, you'll notice over here that the track layout is just a little bit different. I removed the second point from here because I think it was becoming a little bit too cluttered. So that point that I'd fitted sort of somewhere here will in fact now be on the next baseboard just after the connection. Talking of connections, I've recently got hold of a nice little product from GLR Bespoke, which are basically pairs of these. Now this is the underside, which tells you, I'm going to horribly murder this name, Guion Rhys Davies, who is the guy who's come up with this idea. Now this is the side that faces up, and as you can see it's copper clad, and the idea is that you put this at the end of a baseboard with this nice bit here, which then lines up with the other end. So I've already fitted one down here. Now I've not done it perfectly at the moment, but I think the idea is that it makes it a lot easier to not only line up at the end of a baseboard, but also to have your power going through. So oops, I'm just going to connect that up just so you can see how this connects, like that. So that should be really good. I've still got to obviously do this on the other baseboard, but I think this is a really nice new product. So by all means go ahead and get some of these from GLR Bespoke services online. They're not cheap, but they're not that expensive either. And if, like me, the idea of copper nails and lots and lots of fancy soldering is a bit beyond you, then certainly these are something to have a look at. I have no particular interest in you buying these. I wish I was getting paid for it, but I'm really not. But for me, I think this is a really good little idea. And here's something else I've been working on over the past 24 hours or so. This is the Dapol CO44 lowmac kit. As you can see from the illustrations on there, it looks pretty nice. Now this is where I've got up to. I fitted the kit together basically. I have primered it, and then I've added some military green spray paint on top of that, coloured the little, I'd love to say I know what the names of those are, but you can see them, something to do with the brakes perhaps, in yellow, and I've started to use a bit of weathering to make them look a bit more used. Obviously this isn't the finished product in terms of painting, and I've still got the transfers to apply here. Now I've chosen not to use the supplied couplings, which are a kind of Buckeye, I think that's what you call them. It wouldn't really fit with anything I've got, and my thoughts with this is that I'll use it probably somewhere in a siding on my heritage layout with something on board. So instead I've fitted the representation of your 3-link couplings at the end here. As I say, the painting needs a bit more doing at it, but generally speaking it was a very easy kit to put together. It was pretty cheap, certainly from my local model shop, Pennine Models in Haworth, and boy do they have a lot of stock, particularly in the way of plastic models. So if you're after a bargain in that sort of category, I'd certainly recommend them. So yeah, that's one of the little things I've been working on as well. I have another couple of wagon kits that I'm going to be hopefully having a go at constructing over the next few weeks. One of them is a Cambrian kit, which I believe is supposed to be really good. I don't know how easy it's going to be. And I've also got one of the Parkside Dundas models, which of course now is in the Pico range. I've seen a really good little video on a top tip for building those this morning on a BRM video, which suggests that it's best to start with the rolling chassis first, make sure that's running properly before you fit anything else. So I think that's what I'll be doing, and we'll see how that goes as well. It's a container flat with a container, so that's one of the other things I'm going to be working on soon. Speaking of the containers that I showed you in the last video, this is the Nightwing kit. I finally decided that the best thing to do was to kind of start again, so I sprayed it in white primer, and then this is the first set of Phoenix Precision Paints Rail Blue. It's definitely going to need a second coat, but it's certainly sticking an awful lot better. So I think the key here is don't try to get away without using primer. Put your primer on and then paint it as you normally would. Sometimes the shortcuts really don't work, and for me this is definitely one of those. And here's another little project I've been working on in my spare time. On RM Web, and in conjunction with BRM, British Railway Magazine, there has been a thing that's been going on for at least a couple of years now, I believe, called the Cake Box Challenge. The idea being that you build a little diorama that will fit inside a standard cake box. If you Google search for RM Web Cake Box Challenge, you'll get the details that you need. Now, this is something that I've been working on, whether you can tell or not at the moment. The idea with this is that we've got a beach scene at the front of this little diorama, and then at the back, and then here rather, you've got a little promenade that's going to have some beach huts on. This is going to be using the scale model scenery kit, which at the moment I've literally just built the promenade, and I need to colour in the little white bits you can see. I've used a bit of cardboard to form it underneath. Literally all I've used here is some scrap cardboard, and then at the moment I've got some brick paper at the rear, which is from railwayscenics.com. This is their stacked slate medium grey. My wonderful wife has helped me a great deal here by letting me use some of her crafting double-sided tape, and I have to say that's worked brilliantly on this. And then part way on here there's going to be this, which is the ratio retaining wall kit. At the moment it's just in primer, but it will be painted in a kind of weathered grey that should fit in nicely with the slate wall. At the moment it's literally just blue tacked, and to be honest I think that's probably going to be good enough. And then there's this little column which should fit at the side there, which should meld it all in nicely. Yeah, the blue tack clearly isn't working at the moment. And then here at the top you've got the actual railway part. So I've got a little bit of old Hornby track that really wasn't working, plus an offshoot of 75 code Pico Flexi track, which to be honest was a bit too small for anything I was going to use it for. So the rail is far from brilliant, but the main thing is that I'll be able to have a wagon or two on the top there to represent the railway. The fencing is also, I think, very basic ratio wooden fencing. And to make it look a bit better, I'm going to use some tufts of grass along the front there, by the front of the fence, and then the idea will be to put some kind of ballast down on the track area, although to be honest it won't be that visible, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. But that's something else that I've been working on. And right at the front here we're also going to have a little bit of a beach. In terms of the distances there, I think it's just going to be sand. As to whether I use actual sand, it's a possibility, or whether I use some kind of paint or something, I haven't decided yet. But that's kind of the idea at the moment anyway. And here's where I've actually got up to now. So I've been using some of the Pico static grass self-adhesive tufts to represent some kind of grass at the foot of the fencing here. I think it's come out reasonably well so far. Obviously it needs a little bit more. It certainly needs some ground colouring and maybe a little bit of general scatter just to help it a bit. I have now given the first coat of paint to the retaining wall, which is looking fairly good actually. I'll have a see how it dries, and hopefully next time you'll see it, it'll be attached to this little diorama here, which I think is coming along quite nicely. Maybe next time I'll actually be building the huts, so we'll have to see. As I've already mentioned today, I've got a couple of other wagon kits that I want to be having a go at making. So I've got the Parkside Models by Pico container flat with a container. I'll be hopefully using the method that I've learnt from BRM through their television to build the frame first and then the body on top. So that should be nice and easy. I've also got here the Cambrian model rail 4mm 5-plank private owner wagon kit, and I've also now ordered some Gibson 12mm open spoked wheels and some bearings, so hopefully that'll go together really nicely. And just before I leave you for this week, I want to just show you the product that I mentioned earlier from GLR Bespoke. It's the Model Tech Pro Track Rail Aligner. So that's what I was talking about earlier. I hope you've enjoyed this update. There's been quite a lot of different things going on. As tends to be the case, I've not made a lot of progress on the actual layout, but I have been doing all sorts of other little bits and pieces. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and if you've got any thoughts, leave them in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.